The day I was diagnosed with stomach cancer, my son was calling another woman mom. He said, "You're old and ugly. How can you compare to Lisa? She's young and pretty. No wonder dad likes her more than you. I want her to be my mom." So, I got a divorce, letting him get what he wanted. But later, he regretted it and came crying to find me. By then, I was already dead. When Leo messaged me, I had just left the hospital. Tears, still wet, stained the diagnosis report I held. Then, I received his video. It was from Ethan's parent-teacher meeting. My 10-year-old son proudly pointed at a young, beautiful woman standing beside him in class. "This is my mom. I recognized her. 3 months ago, I caught her with my husband, Leo, at a hotel. And now, my own son was calling her mom." His classmates were in awe. "Wow, Ethan, your mom is so young and pretty." "Yeah, she looks like a celebrity." Seeming pleased by their praise, Ethan grinned wider and nestled into the woman's arms. As the video ended, Leo sent another message. "See, this family doesn't need you." The midday sun was glaring, making my eyes burn. I suddenly remembered, about a month ago, Ethan went to a class and forgot his medication. I rushed to deliver it, but he stopped me at the classroom door. In the empty hallway, he nervously glared at me. "Mom, why did you come looking like that? All the other moms are young and pretty. You're the only one who's sloppy. Can't you stop embarrassing me?" I glanced at my reflection in the window. Still in home clothes I forgot to change out of because of the rush. My face weary from years of work and family care. Yeah, it was embarrassing, but I never thought my own son would feel that way. I went through hell giving birth to Ethan. I was hospitalized for months due to a low placenta, and had a massive hemorrhage during delivery. This child almost cost me my life, and when Ethan was born, he had severe allergies. So, every day, besides working to provide for him, I lived in constant worry about his health. 10 years flew by. That school beauty I once was, had turned into a haggard, overworked mess. And now, I didn't even have my health anymore. But in the end, I lowered my gaze to my phone, seeing that both Ethan and Leo had posted the same photo. A picture with that woman. She was indeed beautiful. Young, gentle, with no traces of hardship or childbirth on her. The three of them, looking perfect together, like a real family. Thinking back, I realized neither Ethan nor Leo had ever posted photos with me. I suddenly asked myself, "Sherry, was it worth it?" When I got home, Leo and Ethan weren't back yet. I started packing my things. I thought it'd be a hassle, moving out of a home I'd lived in for over a decade. But in the end, all I packed was a small suitcase. I realized I couldn't even remember the last time I bought clothes or makeup for myself. My shopping cart and credit card statements were filled with things I bought for Ethan. I moved into a small apartment my parents bought for me before I got married. After settling in, I resigned from my job. My co-workers and boss were shocked and tried to convince me to stay, but I just shook my head. "I'm tired and need a break." Perhaps thinking about how hard I always worked, they didn't push further. After packing up and leaving the company, Leo called me, yelling. Ethan had an allergic reaction. "Where are you?" By the time I got to the hospital, Ethan was stable. At the door, Leo pointed at me and cursed. "Sherry, where the hell were you? Do you know Ethan had an allergic reaction? What kind of mother are you?" I couldn't help but laugh. "Weren't you the one who said this family doesn't need me anymore?" Leo was taken aback, but quickly snapped back. "You're still Ethan's mom." Mom, 2 simple syllables, yet they felt like shackles. If the child has a reaction, people say, "What a careless mom." If the child falls, people say, "What an inattentive mom." If the child doesn't do well in school, people say, "What an irresponsible mom." No one ever talks about the dad, as if women were born to bear all this. I remembered what the doctor told me. "Sherry, your stomach cancer is at an advanced stage. Even with treatment, you only have a few months left. A few months left to live. For these last few months, I want to live as Sherry, not as Leo's wife, and not as Ethan's mother either." Thinking this, I looked up at Leo and calmly said, "Leo, let's get a divorce." When we left the civil affairs office, I saw Leo's girlfriend, Lisa, playing with Ethan. Ethan held a bucket of KFC, happily munching and saying to Lisa, "Auntie, you're the best. Mom never lets me have KFC. Always talking about hormones in the food. It's so annoying." The words of warning I had for him suddenly choked in my throat. I lowered my head and bitterly chuckled. What's left to say? Wouldn't it just make me seem even more annoying? Surprisingly, life after divorce was happier than I expected. Despite the pain from my illness, for the first time in over a decade, I could do what I loved. I could sleep in. I could have afternoon tea with friends. I could daydream on the balcony all afternoon. I even found a dance studio. I always loved dancing, and as a child, I dreamed of becoming a dancer. I had the talent for it too, but after a back injury during pregnancy, that dream was shattered. Now, I wanted to try again, not to become a professional dancer, just to do what I loved. The girls at the dance studio were great. Because of my health, I couldn't dance much daily, but I could help them with planning and behind the scenes. They all liked me, helping me buy trendy clothes and teaching me the latest makeup trends. They even set up a TikTok account for us, sharing videos of us dancing together. I hadn't felt this happy in ages, but that happiness lasted less than a month. It was interrupted by a call from Ethan's school. The teacher told me that Ethan was leading a group to bully another student. That student fell into depression because of the bullying and attempted suicide by slitting their wrists. Fortunately, the parents found out in time and saved their child. I rushed to the school and repeatedly bowed, apologizing to the parents. But they couldn't forgive. Do you know your son shoved our child's head into a toilet? He also stripped him naked and took photos. How can a kid be so vicious at such a young age? How do you even raise your children? I bent down, unable to say a word. Honestly, I put my heart into raising Ethan more than anyone else. I was good to Ethan, but never spoiled him. Whenever he did something wrong, I would strictly discipline him. But every time, Leo would stop me. Isn't it normal for kids to make mistakes? Why are you being so harsh? Maybe because Leo always downplayed things. Or maybe I just wasn't good enough. After all these years, Ethan hadn't been taught well. He bullied kids when he was younger. Now he's bullying his classmates. His selfishness seems innate. Education only makes him hide it better, but not change it. Sometimes I can't help but wonder if some traits are just inherited. He's got the same blood as Leo, equally selfish, equally heartless. Just like now, that kid is lying in the hospital, and his parents can barely stand from crying. But Ethan still doesn't realize his mistake. He just yells at me, "Why are you apologizing to them?" That Evan kid, he looks like a fat pig and has the same name as me. I get disgusted just looking at him. So what if I bullied him? And you, Sherry, bowing and scraping to people like that. Aren't you ashamed? I finally couldn't take it anymore and slapped him hard. Ethan was stunned, holding his face in shock. You hit me. Leo and Lisa arrived just then and saw the scene. Leo was furious and shielded Ethan, yelling at me, "Sherry, what are you doing? How dare you hit my son?" Lisa pretended to calm me down. "Sherry, he's just a kid. You can talk it out." Then she turned to Ethan. "Ethan, you have to know, your mom is doing this for your good. Don't be mad at her." Her words only fueled Ethan's anger. "Mom, get lost." He shook off Leo's hand and shouted at me, crying, "This ugly old hag, controlling me since I was little, not letting me eat this and that, always criticizing me. No wonder Dad likes Lisa and not you. I hate you too. I don't want you as my mom. I want Lisa." Ethan's voice echoed in the office. I stared at him, heart aching. Yes, I didn't let Ethan eat many things when he was young, but that's because he was prone to allergies. I did discipline him, but only because he made big mistakes. Like when he pushed a kid into the river at 5, or when he stole money from home at 8. Or like this time, but to him, everything I did was unforgivable. 10 months of pregnancy, 10 years of raising him, not as good as Lisa's fake sweet words. The office fell silent until the bullied kid's mom spoke softly. Ethan's mom. I looked up. I didn't cry. I calmly looked at Leo and Lisa and said, "Leo, Lisa, I only want to say this once, remember it. Ethan has a congenital allergy. He's allergic to seafood, eggs, nuts, pollen, and dust. He can't eat these things, and his room must be clean to avoid allergies. If he has an allergic reaction, he carries medicine in his room, backpack, and pouch. Give it to him immediately. Also, he gets tonsillitis every winter. Keep him warm. His language grades are bad, but his math is okay. He's about to enter middle school. I've found him a tutor. Make sure he goes." I stopped abruptly. I didn't realize how much I could talk about Ethan like this, but Ethan just looked at me with disgust. "Old woman, why say this?" I looked at him calmly. "I'm saying this because I won't handle these things anymore. You don't want me as your mom, you want Lisa. Fine, as you wish." My voice trembled but was firm. "Ethan, from now on, I'll act like I never had a son." I left Ethan's school parent group chat, replaced Leo as the parent contact at school, deleted all apps and notes tracking Ethan's allergies from my phone. After that, I felt truly free. If divorcing Leo meant giving up being his wife, now I was letting go of being Ethan's mom. I went back to the dance studio. The girls told me they'd be doing a tour. They asked if I wanted to be their manager. I gladly agreed. It was a tour, but we scheduled it loosely, so we could travel too. I remembered how, back in college, I loved to travel. Back then, I told Leo we should explore the world together. But after having Ethan, I never traveled properly. Even when I did, it centered around Ethan. Where's educational for him? Where wouldn't trigger his allergies? Where would make him happiest? And now, I finally don't have to worry about anyone else's feelings, and can enjoy my true travels. The tour lasted for about 3 or 4 months. Along the way, I enjoyed the freedom and the scenery, but I also heard about Ethan and Leo. After all those years in the same circle, even if I didn't want to ask, people still told me what was going on. They said that shortly after I left, Ethan had a few allergy attacks and was taken to the hospital. I wasn't too worried. I knew the housekeeper, who had been with Ethan for many years, and with modern medicine, Ethan's allergies wouldn't be life-threatening. He would just have a rough time. In the 2nd month after I left, Ethan bullied a classmate. This time it got serious. The other parents called the police, and Ethan was accused of assault and got expelled. Leo was furious and gave Ethan a severe beating. In the 3rd month after I left, someone told me that Lisa and Leo were getting married, because Lisa was pregnant. That news surprised me. When Leo and I tried for a baby, it took us a long time without success. After a hospital checkup, we found out it was because of Leo. We had to go through IVF. I got injections repeatedly until I finally got pregnant with Ethan. Ironic, considering that now, in his older age, Leo easily managed to get Lisa pregnant. With Lisa and Leo expecting their child, Ethan's status became awkward. A friend told me they saw Lisa yelling at Ethan in the mall, a complete change from her fake kindness. When my friend told me this, I think they expected me to ask more questions, but after a long silence, I just sent them a ticket for my tour. My dance troupe has a show next week. Wanna come? My friend accepted the electronic ticket, but didn't show up. It was Ethan who came. When Ethan found me backstage, my troupe had just finished performing. I was clapping, thrilled, but maybe too excited, as I suddenly felt dizzy. Luckily, a dance teacher next to me caught me. "Sherry, are you okay?" Before I could answer, I heard a familiar angry voice. "What are you doing?" I looked up and saw Ethan. I glanced at the dance teacher beside me. He was young and handsome, and because he was in a hurry to catch me, our position looked somewhat intimate. Ethan obviously misunderstood. He pointed at me, furious. "I wondered why you didn't care about me. So, you've been messing around here. Disgusting. Have you no shame?" I looked at Ethan. Even in just one glance, I saw he had lost weight and looked worn out. But did he notice I had lost weight? From the cancer, I had dropped over 10 pounds and lost a lot of hair. But Ethan didn't seem to notice. He only cared about my relationship with another man. I let out a silent laugh. In the quiet of night, I had worried about Ethan. I checked his and Leo's Twitter, even Lisa's, just to see if Ethan was doing okay. But now all my worries seemed like a joke. I didn't feel like explaining. "Why are you here?" Ethan hesitated but then shouted, "Of course, to ask you for money. You're my mom. You have to take care of me." I found that ridiculous. As I laughed, my eyes stung. I knew it. Ethan could never come to see me out of genuine longing. It was just that Lisa having a baby made Leo less generous, and now he remembered me again. I looked away. "You're still a minor. Even if I give you child support, it should go to your father." "You?" Ethan tried to speak, but I cut him off again. "Enough. You'll get what you deserve, but nothing more." Ethan's eyes filled with rage. "You're all the same," he yelled, clenching his fists. "You find someone else and forget about me. I hate you all." Then he ran off. The moment he left, everything went black, and I couldn't stand anymore. Sherry, when I opened my eyes again, I was in the hospital. Every part of my body ached as if it would tear apart. My troop members stood around me, eyes red from crying. "Sherry, why didn't you tell us about your condition?" Seeing their reaction, I knew it was bad. "How long do I have?" The girls cried harder. The doctor said it was only a matter of days. I sighed in relief, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. "Please stay with me for these last few days," I smiled. These simple, kind-hearted girls stayed with me until the end. I never would have imagined that the ones by my side at the end would be these almost strangers. In the end, I died, with no close relatives, since my parents had long passed and no other kin. I left my final arrangements to the girls. They gave me a beautiful, dreamy funeral. Leo came with Ethan. Leo looked impatient, talking on his phone the whole time. "I'm here with Ethan. She was his mom after all. Why are you jealous of a dead person? What did you say? Your stomach hurts. Fine, fine, I'll be back soon." Of course, he was talking to his pregnant wife, Lisa. Now, with Lisa carrying his baby, he treasured her a lot. Unable to argue with her, he finally gave in. After hanging up, he looked at Ethan impatiently. "Ethan, hurry up and see your mom, then we need to leave." Ethan didn't answer, but stared blankly at my photo. After a long while, he suddenly spoke. "You know, I didn't have breakfast today." Leo, annoyed, snapped, Who cares if you had breakfast or not? Back when Mom was still home, she never forgot to remind me to have breakfast. Leo didn't even finish his sentence before Ethan interrupted him again. I used to find it annoying, but now I realize she was the only person who truly cared about me in this world. Leo's face stiffened, showing a hint of disbelief. Still, maybe out of respect for the dead, he managed to mutter insincerely, "Of course, your mom definitely loved you." But Ethan suddenly lifted his head, his eyes filled with deep hatred. "But it was you. You drove Mom away. All for that shameless woman Lisa." Leo's face darkened. "What do you mean I drove her away? Don't talk nonsense. And how dare you speak about Lisa like that?" However, Ethan, with tears in his eyes, lunged at Leo in a frenzy. "It's you. You killed my mom. Give her back to me." Leo winced in pain from Ethan's blows. He was enraged too. "Ethan, what the hell is wrong with you?" He shoved Ethan away, shouting, "You damn well know who really drove your mom away. It was you. Your mom didn't care who I dated. What broke her heart was how you, her son, treated her." Ethan's face turned ghostly pale. "No, you're lying." But Leo had lost all patience with his son and coldly retorted, "You know it's true. She was always so good to you. And you said you wanted Lisa instead of her, and called her old and ugly." Leo continued, "Let me tell you, your mom was once more beautiful than your precious Lisa. It was because she had you, a son who was always sick, that she became haggard. It's you who drove her to death. You have no right to act like the grieving son now. As a spirit, I didn't reincarnate right away. I lingered around. So I watched the scene unfolding before me, Leo and Ethan, insulting each other. It was laughable. These two men were once the most important people in my life. These two men who hurt me the most. They ignored me when I was alive. Now I'm dead, and they're blaming each other for it." Ethan, being just a kid, couldn't out-argue Leo. He ended up in tears. Leo let out a cynical laugh and walked away from the funeral. Ethan was left alone, staring at my black and white photo, sobbing, "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry." I watched Ethan crying and felt nothing, because I knew his sadness was more about losing the one person who truly cared for him. If Leo hadn't ignored him and Lisa hadn't shown her true colors, would he be sad about my death? Wouldn't he just be happy to have one less person nagging him? I felt utterly disappointed in the child I once cherished with my life. I felt no sorrow for his tears, only cynical thoughts. While Ethan was still crying, my lawyer showed up. "You must be Ethan." The lawyer adjusted his glasses and spoke coolly. "I need to discuss your mother's will with you." Ethan's head snapped up, and for a moment, I saw a glimmer in his eyes. But the next second, the lawyer continued, "According to your mother's wishes, all her assets will go into a trust. You'll receive a monthly allowance of $3,000 until you turn 18, and medical and educational expenses will be covered by the trust. Upon reaching adulthood, all remaining funds will be donated to charity." Exactly, those were my final wishes. As I told Ethan before, I'll give him what he needs, but nothing more. Since I brought him into this world, I'd cover his basic needs. But that's it. Ethan was dumbfounded by the lawyer's words, then snapped back to reality, erupting in anger. "Why? She was my mom. Her money should be all mine. Why give it away?" I smirked at Ethan's furious expression. I knew his sorrow over my death was cheap. What hurt him more was losing a benefactor. Ethan's shouts changed nothing. I lingered as a spirit for a few more months, witnessing more developments than I anticipated. First, as Lisa's belly grew, Leo paid less and less attention to Ethan. He tossed him into a boarding school, clearly intending to wash his hands off him. Ethan, with his allergies, couldn't manage in a boarding school. He fell ill several times. Fortunately, the school was responsible, and with modern medical care, he survived without major issues. But he changed a lot. His previously arrogant attitude turned to gloomy silence, worn down by sickness. No wonder. With constant hospital visits, how could anyone stay arrogant? His relationship with Leo grew colder. He didn't even want to come home on weekends. Meanwhile, Leo, preoccupied with his new child, was happy that Ethan stayed away. But soon, he had his regrets. He found out the baby Lisa was carrying wasn't his. This discovery was purely by accident. Leo, returning early from a business trip out of concern for heavily pregnant Lisa, stumbled upon a shocking scene. The woman he thought adored him was tangled up with another man, pregnant belly and all. Leo was crushed. He couldn't help but question the baby's paternity. Tests confirmed his suspicions. The child wasn't his. In a rage, he nearly assaulted Lisa. He yelled, "Why did you lie to me?" Facing no escape, Lisa sneered defiantly, "You think I didn't want to give you a child? Of course, I did. A kid would make scamming you easy. But look at yourself. Can you even father a child?" Leo's face changed. "What do you mean?" Lisa kept sneering. I had you checked a long time ago. You can't have kids. Remember how hard it was for you and your wife to have your child. You should have known you had a problem. As a spirit overhearing their conversation, it all started making sense to me. No wonder it was such a struggle for Leo and me to have Ethan. It was Leo's fault all along. I used to wonder how Leo got Lisa pregnant so easily. I thought it was just not meant to be for Leo and me, but now it's clear. Lisa had cheated by taking a shortcut. Leo was utterly devastated when he heard this. You lied to me, he muttered. But Lisa didn't lie. After getting another checkup, Leo quickly realized the truth. The child in Lisa's belly wasn't his, and Ethan was his only child. Regret struck Leo hard. He had neglected his only child for a fake one. He hurried to the boarding school to find Ethan and try to repair their shattered relationship, but it was too late. Ethan had seen too much to trust his father anymore. When Leo showed up, Ethan met him with a cold, distant look. At first, Leo tried to be kind and gentle, but inherently, Leo lacked patience. After a few attempts, seeing Ethan's continued coldness, Leo's frustration boiled over. He snapped, Ethan, don't test my patience. I know your mother didn't leave you any inheritance. If you piss me off, you won't get a dime from me. Leo thought he had Ethan cornered. He knew how much material stuff meant to his son. Ethan, despite his young age, had a strong vanity. But Ethan didn't break as Leo expected. Instead, he calmly replied, then don't give me money. Leo was stunned. Ethan looked at him with a mocking expression, surprised. Yeah, I used to care about your filthy money, but after lying in the hospital, facing death each time I had an allergy attack, I realized none of that matters. I just wanted someone to care about and love me. But tears welled up in Ethan's eyes. The one person who truly cared about me is gone. As a spirit watching over Ethan, I was sure he genuinely regretted his actions. He missed me and finally understood my worth, but my heart remained calm. It was too late for any of this to matter. I felt my spirit becoming lighter. Scenes of Ethan and Leo's future flashed before my eyes like a slideshow. I saw Ethan living an unremarkable life. He never found someone who truly cared for him, married someone he didn't love, and his children would eventually become distant. It wasn't a life of disasters, but far from happiness. Leo's fate was even worse. His only son rejected him. Desperate to have more children, he tried all sorts of treatments, only to damage his health. He died lonely and miserable. Watching these visions, I slowly closed my eyes. This life chapter was finally closing. In the next life, I would live for myself, not as someone's mother or wife. Ethan's side story. My name is Ethan. I used to dislike my mom a lot. Other kids' moms were always so pretty and well-dressed, but mine was frumpy. Her yellow hair, bare face, and outdated clothes always embarrassed me. So, when I found out Dad was with Lisa, I wasn't even mad. Actually, I felt proud. Lisa was gorgeous, and having her around earned me respect among my classmates. Lisa treated me well. She'd buy me KFC, chips, and soda, things Mom never allowed me to have. I secretly wished Lisa were my mom. Eventually, my wish came true. Dad divorced Mom, and Lisa became my new mom. Life seemed perfect. No rules, eat what I want, play as long as I want. But the joy didn't last. I started getting frequent allergic reactions, and I realized my health had been good because of Mom's bothersome supervision. The real nightmare began when Lisa got pregnant. Dad's attention was entirely on Lisa and her baby. He ignored me. I had severe allergic attacks, almost dying in the hospital, but no one cared. During one severe attack, where my airway swelled and I couldn't breathe, I thought of Mom. She would never have let this happen. I realized I had pushed away the person who truly cared for me. I thought that if I apologized, Mom would forgive me, like she always did before, even after I hit or yelled at her. So, I went to find her, but then, I saw her hugging a young man backstage. I was furious. Had my mom also abandoned me? I yelled at her, but I never imagined that it would be the last time I saw her. My mom passed away. That's when I found out she had been sick all along. I didn't even notice she was getting thinner and more haggard. To make things worse, the lawyer told me she didn't leave me any extra money, just the basic living expenses, and even those were to be donated once I turned 18. At that moment, I finally realized Mom truly wouldn't forgive me. She was really gone. I lost it, shouting and yelling at the lawyer. I wasn't mad about the money. I just couldn't accept how heartless Mom was towards me. But no matter how much I yelled, Mom wasn't coming back. Later, Dad sent me to boarding school, and I got sick several more times. During those times, I even thought it might be nice to just die. Maybe then, I would see Mom again. Maybe she would be gentle with me, like she used to be. But I didn't die. I actually survived, and my life went on, boring and unfulfilling. Then one day, Dad came to see me, and I found out the child wasn't his. He wanted to make peace with me, but I couldn't forgive him, just like Mom couldn't forgive me. That night, I dreamed about Mom. I saw her in the distance, and I called out to her. I thought she would run to me and hug me like she used to, but she didn't. She just gave me a faint look and then turned away. I woke up crying my eyes out, because I felt like that dream was real. That person was really Mom, and she really didn't want me anymore. I felt so much regret, but in this world, there isn't a pill for regret.